You are entering the Flip2Freedom video experience.
Have I got your attention now?
You show me a pay stub for $72,000, I'm gonna quit my job right now.
Do you care to know why I earn the big bucks? But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward.
Great moments are born from great opportunity.
Don't ever let somebody tell you you can't do something.
Now, your host, Sean Terry.
Hello again, this is Sean Terry from the Flip2Freedom Podcast, and we are on episode number 142. And this is a 6-part series called the Lightning Fast 5K Formula, how to go out and make 5K in lightning speed. And in the first episode, we talked about how to reverse engineer a $5,000 check. What numbers does it take to go out and get a check? So I actually gave you what's called the first check matrix. If you go to flip2freedom.com/gift, flip2freedom.com/gift, you can download what's called the first check matrix, and we reverse engineered a $5,000 check. How much postcards you have to send, how much basically self-generated leads you'd have to do, bandit signs, specifically on a week-by-week, over basically a 6-week period, what you would have to do for the amount of leads. Then we talked about how to get the phone to ring off the hook with motivated sellers. We dove into that. 141, we talked about what to offer, right? There is a formula for determining value on a property. So we talked about what that formula was. We talked specifically on how to look at comps, comparable sales, how to find the high comps, how to find the low comps, and then how to essentially value the property. And we also talked about who is your buyer? Who is your buyer? And that was a big question. We had a group of investors here at the office last week, and a lady came up and says, I got this $1 million property. It's amazing. And I want to sell it. And I was like, well, who's your buyer? And she goes, well, it's not a fix and flip buyer. It's not a buy and hold buyer. It could be a retail buyer, but that's a long shot. So, the question is, who's the buyer? So we kind of got into that and figured out who your buyer was. Now, today we're going to talk about how to talk to the seller and get the contract signed as fast as humanly possible, right? That is a big obstacle for people on how to get the contract signed. All right, so if you are joining us for the very first time and you don't know anything about wholesaling houses and you don't know anything about flipping houses, I didn't either when I first got started. I heard this guy on the radio tell a story about how he was flipping houses and how he went and knocked on pre-foreclosure doors. I fell hook, line, and sinker. He talked about a concept where you don't need cash or credit to get involved in real estate. All you got to do is find a motivated seller, sign a contract with that motivated seller. Let's say theoretically the house is worth $100,000 all fixed up, and you can sign a contract with a motivated seller for $50,000. You get the property under contract. Now, you didn't get a loan, they didn't run your credit, basically you signed a contract with a motivated seller. For earnest money, $10. People go, you can't do with $10 in earnest money. We do it all the time. The only people that say that is they don't know because they've never done it, right? We do it all the time. So I got $10 earnest money. We've got a contract signed for $50,000 with a motivated seller. Then what we do is we find a buyer. We market to find a buyer. And once we find that buyer for $60,000, why is a buyer going to buy that property? We just talked about it. Who's the buyer? Well, a fix and flip buyer. They want to buy because it has $40,000 in potential equity. They could buy it for a rental, a buy and hold reason. And we don't really sell to retail buyers. The biggest two buyers are the fix and flip and buy and hold. So the bottom line is we can find a buyer for $60,000. Now we have 2 contracts. We bring them to a title company and instruct them to do 3 things. Either A, an assignment where we sell the contract for $10,000. B, what's called a double escrow where we're using the buyer's funds, meaning the buyer wires in $60,000, of which $50,000 goes to the seller and $10,000 goes to you. or we can use transactional funding. Those are the three ways to get deals done. And essentially, you are the person that found the motivated seller, provided a service for them, and they could get out of their situation quickly, right? And being able to turn around and sell it. Now, we got this deal, actually a call came in on Sunday from a property, and I actually came in through Google AdWords. I picked up the phone, I called the guy on Sunday afternoon, I talked to him, he said, I want to sell, we just want to get rid of this property, we inherited it, and my sister and I, we just want to get rid of it. I said, great. He wanted between $65,000 and $70,000. The house is worth $140,000, $150,000, right? It's a little beat up, tough area. But he said, okay. So we set up an appointment, Monday, 3:30. Raphael went out there, met with the guy, went through the whole process, and got the contract for $67,500. We turned around, flipped it less than 24 hours for $105,000, $37,000 profit. That happens all the time. $10 earnest money, calls come in. We do that all the time. So the bottom line is, in this series, we're going to talk about what, in this, how to get that, first 5K. It could be 37K, you never know. The bottom line is what we're going to talk about now is 142, how to talk to the seller and how to get the contract signed. This is a big fear for a ton of people because, they're afraid to talk to the seller. Go to the house and they might be brand new. I remember the first house that I went to and I actually talked to the seller. It was like at 7:30 at night. It was getting dark outside. Man, I was kind of freaking. The place was all dark, and the guy's kind of showing me around. I'm like, man, my hair's on the back of my, standing up on the back of my neck. I didn't know what I was talking about. I didn't know how to negotiate. I didn't know what to look for in the house. I didn't know what to say. I literally walked in the kitchen, walked in the living room, looked in the backyard. The pool is empty. There's grass actually growing from the bottom of the pool. And he said, give me $83,000 and I'll sell it. And I said, okay. And that's it. And I was like, I wanted to get in and out of there with the contract as fast as possible. But I remember when I had that contract, I was pumped. I didn't know what the value was. I didn't know what it was. He said he wanted 80, some 3,000. And I said, okay, I'll give it to you. And I just gave it to him, hoping there was a spread on the deal. That was my first deal. So what we want to do is give you education so you know what to do going in. It will just give you confidence. It's funny, my daughter's preparing for a big audition she's got coming up for and I'm not going to tell you exactly what it is. I'll tell you after she does it because I'm not supposed to make it public yet. But the bottom line is she's preparing for that audition. So what we want to do is prepare to meet the seller. There's things we got to do, prepare. And what that preparation does is it gives us confidence. All right. So first off, go to flip2freedom.com/gift right now. Download the first check matrix. You can get that there. Aaron's going to actually post the link in the Facebook page if you guys are on Facebook watching live. For you guys listening at iTunes right now, maybe via Facebook, maybe via Periscope, maybe via YouTube, wherever you're listening right now, go to flip2freedom.com. You can download that first check matrix for free. All right, so let's get into it. Let's talk about how to talk to the seller. So there's a couple different steps that we want to talk about. One, basically preparing your file. 2, building rapport with the seller. 3, the repair sheet, which is critical. 4, the lowest of the low comps. We'll talk about that. And then essentially how to structure the offer. And then closing questions, objection, annihilation, and then what to expect. So let's get into it. So when you talk about completing your file, you have to know going in, and that's what in the last episode we talked about how to comp the property, but you want to know specifically going in when you're talking to the seller what your top line price is, what your highest amount you're going to offer. Because when you get into the house and you start talking to the seller, and you don't know what your top line number is, what your top number is, then what happens is you want to please the seller. You're just going to say maybe okay, and you're going to get the, and you're not going to know what your target to shoot for is. The biggest mistake you can make in wholesaling is signing a contract for too high a price and then trying to sell it. Remember, we're trying to get a smoking deal where a cash buyer jumps for the opportunity to purchase it cash within 7 days. If average days on market's 100 plus days, we have to have such a smoking deal that a cash buyer is going to jump and buy it in 7 days. Well, if you sign the contract for too high and you put it out, guess what? A cash buyer is not going to jump to buy that property. So the bottom line is we've got to make sure we get a smoking deal. So what we do is we prepare a file, and in that file we have 2 contracts, right? Purchase and sale contracts. We have our lowest of the low comps, 3 lowest of the low comps, right, in the area. In any particular subdivision, 1 mile radius of the subject property, there are going to be high comps and there's going to be low comps. Now, in every city, every state, and every subdivision, it's different. The spread between the low and high is, it depends on each individual subdivision or area. Like parts of Southern California, the spreads are tight. Parts of Phoenix, the spreads are huge, and in some areas they're a little bit tighter. The bottom line is you have to essentially know what those low comps are, and we're assuming those low comps, those 3 low comps that sold in the last 90 days, which we talked about in the last episode, that those are wholesale comps. Those are properties that have not been fixed up, they haven't been renovated, they don't have 8-inch baseboard, granite countertops, stainless steel appliances, new roof, new AC. They don't have that. What they do have, though, is they have a property in a particularly good neighborhood where we can turn around and get that property under contract and add value to it to sell it at the higher comp. The bottom line is here, when we have our file, right, we're going to put our number in there, our highest number that we want to offer, and we're going to get that by asking the question, what can we sell the property for? If we go in, when I look at the property and I'm determining value, we're looking at comps, or we're in our Monday morning meeting. If you follow us on Instagram or on Facebook, we post on there, and Aaron will take pictures of us in our Monday morning meeting. And what we do is we go through the contracts from the property, from the contracts that were acquired in the past week, and we kind of go through the values. And my biggest question is, what do we think we can sell the property for? Right? So we look at all the properties that are for sale, look at all the properties that have sold, and we're trying to figure out what is the highest number we can sell it for. If you know what you can sell it for, then you can back out, right, where you need to be for your highest offer. So if you think you can sell it for 120 and you want to make 20,000, then your top line number is 100 grand. If you believe you can sell it for $120,000, right? And you want to make 10,000, your top line number is $10,000, right? So the thing is that we got to know our top line number. Now, when you're determining that 120,000 or asking or answering the question, what number can I sell it for? Well, when you have that number, right, you want to be the lowest of the low available property in that particular area. So think about this. From an investor standpoint, if you're going to pick a property in a particular subdivision, in a particular 1 mile radius, right, you want to have the best deal. You want to have the best. You don't want to buy a house that you can buy a similar house down the street for cheaper. If you come out with a property and let's say theoretically it's 120,000, but there's a house down the street selling for 115 that's similar square footage, another house down the street selling for 122. Guess what? They're not going to jump at the opportunity to buy that property. What we always try to do is be the cheapest available property that any investor can buy within our subject area, which is in the proximate area of the 1 mile radius. Okay? So that's number one, right? Completing the file, knowing your number, what you can sell it for, and then what you want to make on the property and what your highest offer price is, your top line number, your highest offer price, right? And now we're going to have that. We're going to have our 2 contracts. We're going to have our lowest of the low comps. We're going to have our number in there. And then now we have our file complete to where we have a letter of authorization in there. So if they have a loan, we can get authorization to release information for the title company. But now we have our file complete. We have a number going in. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go meet with the seller. Now, typically what I do prior to actually meeting with the seller, I'll drive the entire neighborhood. I'll get educated on all the properties that are selling around the property. The house down the street, might be listed on the market and, for sale. I look at some of the other sold comps to see if it's similar. I'll look for any vacant properties. I'll look for any for sale by owner properties. I look for any for rent properties, and I'm going to try to find those properties, and I'm going to put them in. I usually write them on my Manila folder as properties that I could essentially follow up with. Now, I tell people this all the time. I might have gone on an appointment to meet a seller, and I don't get that contract because the seller wants retailer or the seller's not motivated, but I'll get one of the vacant properties or the boarded up properties or the for sale by owner properties when I drove that neighborhood. I'll get one of those properties because I'll turn around and I'll call them and follow up with them. So that's what we're gonna do. So we're essentially gonna kind of, and we call it some pre-appointment intelligence around try to gather information. So if the seller comes up with an objection stating that the house down the street is selling for X, we know all about that property. We know that it hasn't sold, so it's essentially not a comp. It might be on the market for 120 days. It might be a bigger property. It might be fully renovated. That information is critical when it comes to negotiating with the seller. All right. So picture this. So the call came in. We talked about how to get the phone to ring off the hook. You understand value and how to comp it. You go out, you drive the neighborhood. Now you pull up in front of the house. You get your file out. You take a deep breath. And now you're going to walk in. You knock on the door. So you knock on the door and you're standing there. And the seller opens the door. What do? Right? You have to know what to do. And when you walk in the door, and it's the same procedure every single time. And once you get good at this, it's almost like a science. You kind of walk in and you kind of know exactly what's going on. The only difference is the house and the seller make up the difference. So when we go in and we meet the seller, our primary objective is to get the seller to like and trust us through building rapport, right? So how do we do that? How do we get the seller to like us? Now, if we just walk in, shake their hand, kind of look by them, walk through the house and go, oh my gosh, this house is terrible. Holy cow, the roof is coming down, there's stains in the ceiling and the carpet stinks. And the dog comes up and sniffs and you go, I hate dogs. And you kind of flinch and kind of kick the dog away and stuff. Or the cat comes up and you kick cats. I'm allergic to cats, right? And you do that and you're walking around and you kind of really don't make eye contact, and then you come and you give them an offer for $110,000 in their living room, and the seller goes, I want to think about it, and then you walk out the door. That's what most people do. And that's what you don't want to do. What you want to do is you want to get them to like. Now, would you, if someone came into your house, kicked your dog, right, and kind of told you everything that sucked about your house, how would you feel? Would you like the guy? No. You'd be like, what a jerk. The guy's a schmoron. And guess what? Get him out of here. So it's like, out of here, and guess what you do? You tell him anything to get him out of the house and get him out of there. So, but you guys listen to this, you listen to the podcast, you watch all this stuff, so you know how to get this and how to get someone to like and trust you. So the bottom line is, when you meet with them, definitely look them in the eye, shake them in the hand. And when you shake them in the hand, you can kind of read their handshake. If they turn your hand over, they're more aggressive. If they're all squishy hand, they got fish handshake. That tells you something right there. If they're up and down, it means they're like, you guys are more of a win-win type of situation. You kind of make eye contact with them. And what you're essentially doing is scanning the entire room, looking for something that you can make a connection with, right? And I tell this story where I walked into this one house and the guy had these carved out boats, right? And they were on the wall. They had them on a counter. It had a big table in there. They had them on every portion of the house with these little carved out boats, and he had a dog. So when the dog came up to me, whether you like dogs, I love dogs, right? And the dog comes in, I go, oh my God, it's like petting the dog, leaning over, patting the dog and stuff, and stuff like that. And the dog was wagging his tail and all happy and stuff. So guess what? People like themselves. People like themselves. So I wanted to get him to like me, right? So people like themselves. He likes his dog. And if I like his dog, he likes me, right? Step one, right? So now I'm sitting there looking at all these boats, and I'm sitting there going, wow, look at these boats. These are amazing. Look at all the little car boats, and he's telling me all this story about the boat. For 30 minutes, we didn't talk about the house. We didn't leave the living room for 30 minutes. He told me he got them from all the different trips he went on, and the boats, and the carving, and the this, and what it means, and how he got into it, and blah, 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 blah. And his wife is sitting there just going like this, rolling her eyes. And, but he went off, and he was passionate about those boats. Now, I thought it was cool. Do I really care about the boats? I did because he cared about the boats, right? Am I going to go collect the little wooden boats now? No, I don't have wooden boats, right? But I didn't know about it, and I was sincerely interested to learn what the guy had to say. And because I looked him in the eye, and I was talking to him, and I was engaged, and I was interested in it, he liked and trusted me. Now, he met with a handful of other investors, and even told me, he says, listen, I've talked to a bunch of other different investors, and I get offers and stuff like that. So, you can come on, no problem, and I love, come talk to you. But I had all this competition on a smoking deal, on a great location, on a perfect 3-bedroom, 2-house, 1,700 square feet. I walked in. There's other people. I had all these offers. No one closed him yet until he met me, right? So walked in, talked about the boats, talked about the wife, and then we walked around the house, right? It was building rapport. So here's the deal, is during the rapport building process, after you talk about their family, talk about the dog, talk about the cat, talk about the boats, talk about the kids, talk about everything but the house. You build a connection with them on something else. You're looking for something. You're scanning the house looking for something. So when we do that, during that process, when we transition from the building rapport to now, hey, you guys mind showing me the house? I'd love to see it. It looks like a beautiful house. How long have you guys lived here? Right? And now you're building rapport with them. During that transition, that process, now he said, you know what, Mr. Seller, I know you told me what you wanted for the house, but I didn't write it down. Can you refresh my memory of what you said you were asking for the property? And shut up. That's a closing question. I mean, that's a very important question. So your goal during this next phase, which is the repair phase, is to try to find out the seller's number. Because we've all heard in negotiation, whoever names the first number first loses, right? So we don't want to be losers, right? We want to do the best. Now, here's the deal. I've had a number written down in my folder for $100,000, theoretically. I've walked around the house, I've talked to the seller, I had my repair sheet, and I was doing it, and I said, Mr. Seller, I know you told me what you're right now. What do you want for the house again? What are you looking to sell it for? What's your number? And as I'm walking around the house, the seller goes, well, if you give me $85,000, I like you seem like a nice guy. If you give me $85,000, it's a deal. I had $100,000 in my manila folder written down as my highest offer price. He said 85. If I would have offered 100, there goes the $15,000 potential profit. But because I was persistent and I was kind and I built rapport with them and I understood them and stuff like that, what happened is now I asked for the number. He goes, yeah, if you give me 85, it's a deal. And I said, well, let's keep looking around the house. And I'm not going to go, oh my God, 85, let's go sign it up, right? I'm not going to do that, even though inside you want to. I've only had one seller negotiate me down on price. Now, just process that for a second. We went in, this was actually with one of our JV guys, brand new person, got up and going. I went to an appointment with him. We went in this house. Place was trashed. It was nasty, right? Our offer was so low. It's like I always say it, if you don't make an offer that's so low that it embarrasses you, then the offer's not low enough. So, and I remember I was talking to this guy, and we're talking to him, and this was a while back, and he was like, "You can't offer that. The guy's gonna kick us out. The guy's gonna throw us out of here. You can't. There's no way you can." I said, "Trust me, trust me, trust me, trust me." So the offer was like, in the $20,000, like $22,000, $23,000. So we walk in, and we're walking the place, and I go, man, this is pretty beat up. And I said, what do you want for the house? What do you want? He goes, well, give me your number. And we're kind of jockeying on who's going to name the first number first. So if you're going to name the first number first, it's going to be so stinking ridiculously low that, you're going to be freaking out. So anyways, so it was that number that was so low that this guy was in panic mode going, we're going to get kicked out. This is the lead I got, I think, So we go in there and we offer like $22,000, $23,000 on the property, and he's like waiting to get punched by the seller, right? And the seller looks at us, he goes, well, maybe you should pay like $15,000 or $16,000. I think 22 is too high for it, and I really want you guys to be able to close on it and make this, so why don't you pay 15 to 16? Now, I've done thousands of houses, lots. That has never happened to me ever, where I give a seller a number and the seller at a ridiculously low number and the seller negotiates me down. That made history. We walked out of there going, what was that, right? And I think we made 14, 15 grand on the deal. And he made a $7,000 check. We split it 50-50. And it was a great, great story because the guy actually negotiated. So don't expect that. The bottom line is, if you have to name the first number first, make sure it's low enough that you want to puke when it comes out of your mouth, right? That is so low. But don't puke. All right, so next thing, repair sheet. Repair sheet's important. Okay. We had a group of investors here last Tuesday? Last Tuesday. So the group of investors here last Tuesday, and they're like, how? He goes, I'm getting a $3,000 deals, $5,000 deals, $6,000 deals, $3,000. I'm getting all these little deals. How do I get bigger deals? I said, let me ask you a question. Are you using a repair sheet? Well, I've heard you talk about it, but I kind of breeze through that. There you go. And you might have heard this before on other podcasts or me talking about, the repair sheet is the only way you can get a low price on a property. Why? Because of logic. You can't just come out with a low number with a seller with no logical basis behind it. They're not going to be like, well, what are you talking about, right? So the way this needs to happen is you have a repair sheet. And we have a repair sheet that my sales guys use. It's like a 2-page document, and it's basically taken all of Home Depot pricing. And they'll go in and say, okay, it looks like we need 12 windows replaced at $350 a piece, 12 windows. Okay, well, the house is 1,500 square feet, average, $15 a foot for paint, new paint. It looks like we have a new roof on here. Okay, we got to do a new roof. AC, how's the AC? Well, that hasn't been replaced in years. Okay, we probably need a new AC, $5,000. And then, okay, it looks like you need surround, tile surround, new bathrooms can be completely redone. Those are going to be X amount of dollars. So they're building this repair sheet, as they're filling out piece by piece by piece by piece by piece. Now, here's the ticket. If you have the low comps, and let's say theoretically, your number has to be 100,000. That's your top line number, right? And all your low comps are 120. How do you go, when you say, here's the low comps, how do you go from 120 down to 100? Repair sheet. So what happens is, I know in my mind, I've got to build a minimum of a $20,000 repairs. In most properties that you get smoking deals on, that are older properties that have deferred maintenance, there's going to be massive amounts of repairs. To get a typical 12 to 1,500 square foot house renovated, you're talking 30, 40, 50 grand or more, depending on the fixtures and the type of remodel you're going to do on it. So the bottom line is when you have $120,000 comps and you want to get down to $85,000, $90,000, $75,000, that the delta is that repair sheet. So if you do a measly $5,000 repair sheet, you're going to have a tough time. But if you have a beefy repair sheet that's going to calculate for the roof and the AC and all the windows and the landscaping outside and the 8-inch baseboards, the granite countertops, stainless steel appliances, to get the whole thing, and you fill out this repair sheet and it's $52,000 to get the house up to 2017 standards to get it sold, From 120, I mean, now you're down to 80 grand, right? Now you're down to 70 grand. So now you say, hey, based upon our numbers here, we take the $120,000 comps minus $50,000, right? Minus a, maybe a 5 or 10% contingency number, just because we never know what's going to happen. We have a contingency number in there of another, say, $7,000 to $10,000. Well, it's going to bring us down to 60 grand. So remember, your top line number is 100. Remember, you're naming the first number first. So if you're going to name the first number first, what do you have to do? You have to name a low number. So you name a low number, $60,000, $120,000 comps, you got $50,000 in renovation, you got a contingency clause in there, boom, and then you can negotiate up from there, right? So two things are going to happen. The seller's going to go, okay, that makes sense, and get it signed. So the next step is you got the lowest comps. So you got the lowest comps. You're showing $120,000. You got a $50,000 repair sheet. You got a 5 to 10% contingency on there. And depending, so your goal is to get super low below your number because you're going to negotiate up from there, right? And the bottom line is we've had sellers to go, okay, no problem. That works for us. That offer makes sense. Let's go for it. Some sellers are going, are you crazy? $60,000? You're nuts, right? And you say, okay, well, where do you need to be to get the deal done today? And they go, if you give me 90, then I could probably make my numbers work. But if you offer them 90, they're still going to freak out. But now their number is going to be 110. Now you're screwed because you're 10,000 over your top line price. So you got to start low. So now they come up to 90, and you go, you know what? Let me make a phone call, see if I can make that work, see what we can do. And then you can negotiate from there. So you got the lowest comps. You take the repair sheet. We talked about that. Now, once you make your offer, essentially, you got your lowest of the low offer, right? 60 grand. And you go $60,000, and the seller, it was funny. One of the guys was in here from North Carolina, and he had a real problem offering low numbers like that. So think about it. If you're the lowest of the low comps are 120, the highest comps are say 150, and you offer 60, you're like going, there's no way. It happens all the time. This is what we do, right? So he had a problem offering that 60. He just was afraid to get knocked out, right, from the seller. And this was a big dude. And I was like, do what's called the back chuckle. And you're probably going, what the heck is the back chuckle? Back chuckle is where you offer 60, right? And you keep a straight face. So when you do $60,000 on the property based upon the repairs and based upon the $60,000. And you wait for the seller's reaction. Seller freaks out, right? The back chuckle is, hey man, I'm just kidding you. I'm just kidding you. Just wanted to see what you say. It's called the back chuckle. We had this, I had this contractor named Steve. And unfortunately, he passed away from actually a heart attack, but he would get the biggest spreads on properties I had ever seen, even better in Raphael. And he would come out with a low offer, and if the seller freaked out, he'd do a back chuckle. Oh, I'm just kidding, I actually mean 70, or I mean 80, right? So he would always, just kidding, man, just, it's a joke, just kidding. Here's the number. So the closing question after you make the offer, if you say $60,000, and you let that kind of sit, right? You don't say anything. They respond, and there two things are going to happen. They're going to say, okay, that makes sense, or they're going to say, you're nuts. If they say that makes sense, you say, great, let me ask you a question, and this is an alternate choice close. Would you like to close on Friday or Monday? Which would you prefer? Now, if they pick Friday, you start filling out the paperwork. If you fill out Monday, you start filling out the paperwork. It's called assume the sale. They say Friday, boom, you go, well, it's your Friday, now you sure you want to sell? No. Friday? Okay, great. Here, what's your name? Let's put your information here. If we'll close on this Friday, the 12th. Okay, boom, let's do that. Okay, here, go through the contract. Okay, if you can sign that, that'd be great. We'll be good to go. I'll have a copy for you, copy for me. Let's do it. We're done. So you assume the sale, you get the contract signed. If they freak out, right? If they freak out, then you say, what do we need to do to get the deal done today? So you gave them a low number. They came up to $90,000. So you went from 60 to 90. and you go, whoa, 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 is that the best you can do? And remember, we're paying cash. We're paying cash. We can close on your time frame. You don't have to pay real estate commissions, closing costs. You don't have to fix the property. Mr. Seller, is $90,000 the best you can do? And then shut up. And they go, well, I could probably do, 85. 85? Wow, this is, a lot from where we were from 60. Are you sure that this is the best you can do? Because, we are paying cash. You don't have to fix the roof. You don't have to fix anything. We can make it as smooth as possible. You don't have to move. Are you sure? Is 85 the best you can do? And they go, well, and they're going to come to the point where they're like, yes, 85 is the best I can do. If you can't do 85, it's no deal. Okay, great. Let me see what I can do. I got to call, make a couple calls. I want to walk around the house again. I want to look at my repair sheets. Maybe we can turn it into a rental instead of a fix and flip. So let me go outside. Let me look around. Let me see it, look around again. I want to check the neighborhood. I'm going to look at it from a rental perspective now. And you go outside and say, listen. And you tell, before you go outside, you say, listen, if we can do 85, right? Are you ready to go to commit to get this deal done today? Yes. Once you get that yes, it's called the nail down close. You nail them down the 85, they committed to it. Now you walk around, turn around, make a phone call, come back and say, listen, I just talked to my boss, I just talked to my partner, just talked to my finance partner, just talked to my lender, whatever the case may be. We can get this done at 85, but you know what? We got to get it done today. So when do you want to close? You want to close on Friday or Monday. And you go back to the alternate choice close. And they go, well, why don't we close on Monday? Boom, you start filling out the contract and it's a done deal, right? So that is how the closing questions work, alternate choice close. And now if they go, I want to think about it, right? After you do a nail down close, they're not going to do, I want to think about it, because you nailed them down. But if you offer them a price of $60,000, there are some people that are going to be non-confrontational. They're not going to go, oh my God, what are you, crazy? You're nuts? They're not going to do that. They're going to go, well, we need to think about it. So now you have to overcome the objection. So you go, let me ask a question, Mr. Seller. I can appreciate the fact that you want to think about it, but what's there to think about? You know what I mean? It's like, you're going to go think about it, right? And I'm going to leave. You're going to think about it. You're going to have a question, and you're not going to pick up the phone and call me, right? So why don't we think about it together? So let me ask you a question, Mr. Seller. On the things you want to think about, is it the contract you want to think about? Is it the process you want to think about? What's happening here? Is it me? Did I say something wrong? Did I do something wrong? Or is it the price? Out of these ones, what specifically do you want to think about? And that's called boxing the objection. So you take this big objection, I want to think about it, you put it in a box, right? Is it me? Is it the process? Is it the contract? Is it the price? So boom, they go, 99% of the time we'll go, well, it's the price. It's a little low for us. Great. Well, let's talk about it. I showed you my comps, I showed you a repair sheet. So let me ask a question, Mr. Seller. Where do you need to be to get the deal done today? So you took it from I want to think about it, which is a blow-off, non-confrontational, to now you box the objection. It's boxed in the price, which is the majority of the objections. And then now you said, hey, where do you need to be? Well, we really need to be at 85. We really need to be at 95. We really need to be at 120. And you go, Mr. Seller, I understand that, but 120, that doesn't leave us any room for repairs. That doesn't leave us any room for contingency. Is that the best you can do? Remember, we're paying cash. I've had sellers where I said, is that the best you can do? Remember, we're paying cash. You're paying, no closing costs. You don't have any realtor fees. You don't have, all you got to do is tax prorations. And if you paid your taxes, you're getting a reimbursement. And what happened? I've had sellers go, oh, I didn't know that. I thought we had to back out all that money. Okay, that makes sense. Why don't we do? And just by overcoming the objection, talking them through it, reminding them of what we do, it changed everything. So no, we don't need 120. We actually could do 100. So 100 obviously is a little bit different than 60,000. That's not going to give us room for repairs, Mr. Seller. Yeah, we could probably turn it into a rental, but it's going to be pretty tight. We're not going to fix anything. You literally can. Are you sure that's the best you can do if you can pay cash and close quick? And shut up. Those are all closing questions. And they're going to go, and they might come down, they might not. And if they do, great. If you can make the numbers work, you're at your 100,000, great. If you can't, then you have to pass and refer it on to a listing. After you've closed, you got everything signed and everything done and everything ready and everything done, all gone, right? You got the deal signed. You went through those iterations. In the objection annihilation method, we talk about the 16 top objections, how to overcome it. We talk about, and this is all in the part of the Flip2Freedom Academy. Inside there, we go through all these different objections, each one of them. But the last step is setting the expectation. Setting the expectation is now where what's going to happen next after we sign the contract. So we got the contract signed now. So here's what's going to happen, Mr. Seller. I'm going to take this contract. You have your contract. I'm going to send it over to the title company. We're going to open up escrow. They're going to do what's called a title report. Make sure there's nothing there's no liens, no judgments. If they have payoffs on the property, we got to get the payoffs. We got to get everything together, get our file complete. Also, too, I'm going to get a couple of my contractors in here, some of my investment partners to come and look at the property. Once we get the file complete, then we can move the closing within our time frame. So just so you know, that's essentially what we're going to do to be able to do it. And also, too, remember, we're investors, right? So we don't know if we're going to fix the house and sell it. We don't know if we're going to rent it. We don't know if we're going to sell it quick. Whatever the case may be, the bottom line, our goal is to honor this contract and make sure we get it done in a timely fashion. Get it done. It could be potentially sooner than our closing date, but that's what you can expect going forward. Do you have any questions, Mr. Seller? And they go, no, I don't have any questions. Okay, great. You're going to get a phone call from, Jess or Eileen or Naomi from our closing title company. One of those will give you a call to schedule to ask any more questions or get some paperwork. So that is basically the final step, is setting the expectation with the seller. Now, we are going to, next week, we're going to talk about how to get the property sold in lightning speed, how to get floods of cash buyers to the property. We call it's a 30-minute open house. Now, this doesn't really work in a buyer's market, because a buyer's market, there's tons of inventory. They can kind of pick and choose. In a seller's market, you can do what's called a 30-minute open house. So a 30-minute open house is you pick a day, and you get a bunch of people there at the house, and now it's literally auction style. Highest and best offer gets the price. And because inventory is low across the country, demand is high, you're able to take properties that you'd normally make $5,000, $7,000, $10,000 on, and you get highest and best offers. We've had highest offers $30,000, $40,000 higher than our actual sales price. All right, so here's the deal. People go and ask me all the time in questions, what is the one thing, right? The one thing that will make massive difference in the business. What's the one thing? Now, we were at boardroom training, and we have mastermind called Boardroom. We have Boardroom for brand new people that are getting started, Boardroom Elite for guys that are doing 100,000, $500,000, and Billionaire Boardroom for guys doing $500,000 plus, where it's experiential. We go to Cabo, we go to Napa, and it's so much fun. It's a blast, right? So they're all different segmented, and brand new people can move up to Boardroom Elite, and Boardroom Elite can move up to Billionaire Boardroom. So we're at the Boardroom, which is for brand new people. And we're there, and the guy got up, and he just got started in the business. Really, he's done a couple deals, but he's standing there and he's going, yeah, I've, been doing it for the, last 3 months, since January, I've got about 15 leads. So 15 leads since January, right? So that's about a lead and a half a month, right? Or whatever, 2 leads a month, whatever. So not a lot. And I go, well, he goes, I got a VA that's answering the phone. I got a VA that's structuring offers. I got this, what? I said, whoa. Why do you have a whole team of people when you've only got 15 leads in the past 3.5, 4 months? And he goes, well, I'm supposed to be having a lifestyle. I was like, well, okay, let me ask a question. Are you independently wealthy from some other source? Did your mom, do you have a ton of money sitting in the bank? And he goes, no, I lost my job almost a year ago. I have no income, and we're literally on our last leg. I'm like, okay, dude. So you've got a VAs answering the phone, VA structuring offers, and you are got 15 leads coming in the past 3-4 months, and you want to do the lifestyle thing? I'm like, no. I said, get rid of the VAs, be done with it. You calculate the comps, you answer the phone. He goes, well, I thought we were doing the whole lifestyle, we're having the perfect day and having the lifestyle. I was like, you gotta get there first, right? It takes effort and energy and hard work to get there. So I found this video from Will Smith, and it's the perfect, basically, idea. Now, Will Smith, the guy is a gazillionaire, has done tons of movies, a legend in his own time, an incredible actor, and he still has a work ethic that's probably better than mine. Amazing. So, I look at it, and still, I am up early. I stay up late doing stuff. Why? Because it's a hustle. So, I want you to listen to a clip of this video right now from Will Smith. And if you guys are watching on Facebook or YouTube or whatever, you guys can actually watch it. If you guys are actually listening on the podcast, you can hear the audio section of it. But this is the essence of how to make it in this business. So listen right now to Will Smith.
I have this discussion with friends of mine
Right.
all the time. The only thing that I can see, and you can never really look at yourself, the only thing that I see that is distinctly different about me is I'm not afraid to die on a treadmill. Right? I will run.
You would not be outworked.
I will not be outworked.
Right.
Period.
Yeah.
You might have more talent than me. You might be smarter than me. You might be sexier than me. You might be all of those things. You got it on me in 9 categories. But if we get on the treadmill together, right? There's 2 things. You're getting off first, or I'm going to die. It's really that simple, right? So let's go back to the question about what if people block me out. It's going to be 2 options. I'm going to get back in, or I'm going to be dead. Right? It's like, you're not going to outwork me. It's such a simple, basic concept. It's the guy who is willing to hustle the most is going to be the guy that just gets that loose ball. He got the okay, he got 2. He hustled, he grabbed that one. That was going to be out of bounds, but he saved it back in. It's like the commodity that I see the majority of people who aren't getting the places they want or aren't achieving the things that they want in this business is strictly based on hustle. It's strictly based on being outworked. It's strictly based on missing crucial opportunities. I say all the time, if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready.
I'm with you.
All right, boom. Will Smith, gotta love him, but here's the bottom line. The bottom line is, gotta work. Takes effort. So here's my question to you. Are you willing to die on the treadmill? Right? Are you willing to die on the treadmill? Now, I don't believe in competition, but I do believe in work ethic. So are you willing to die on the treadmill for what you want? So, and I know a lot of you guys might be working around a job and you get your full-time job and you get the kids and family and soccer practice, all this type of stuff. But still, guess what? I built the entire Flip2Freedom Academy from 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock in the morning, right? Still got up at 5 o'clock and got the kids off to school and did all this stuff and went to the gym and did all this stuff. Why? Because I'm passionate about it. Love to. If you want part of your real estate business, guess what? The best times are early morning or late at night. That is the best times to build your business. To get your list and talk to your sellers and, maybe not talk to sellers that late, but you can do that during the afternoon, but deploy your marketing, get your AdWords set up and doing exactly what we're talking about here to get the phone to ring off the hook to start talking to sellers. And maybe you have to go, man, I'd go from Saturday from 9 o'clock in the morning till 6 o'clock at night. And I'd be going appointment after appointment after appointment after appointment. And I get 2 or 3 contracts on Saturday. Saturdays were the best. Sundays after church, I'd have two more appointments after that. Saturday and Sundays, sellers are relaxed. Most of the people don't work on Saturdays and Sundays. So you're out there and you're talking to them. You're willing to meet them on the weekend. Crushed. I would do especially working a job, I'd turn around, book everything for the weekend or night after hours, after I get off work or whatever, I go meet with sellers, whatever it took to go get this deal done. The question is, how bad do you want it and what are you willing to do to get it? See, like Will Smith, it doesn't matter about talent. It doesn't matter about your skills, where you come from, your background or whatever. It's how hard you're willing to work to make it happen. And if you put forth the effort, guess what? The universe, talks about earlier in that video, will submit to you. Success will be inevitable. So that's it for this episode. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast. If you love the podcast, please leave a review for us in iTunes. Go to flip2freedom.com, flip2freedom.com. You can listen to the other previous episodes. You also can download the gift for free there. This is episode number 142. Number 143, we're going to talk about how to sell the property quickly, how to get the property sold quickly, and then part 6 of the series, how to get the deal closed. We're going to talk about the 4 biggest mistakes to avoid when it comes to actually getting the deal closed, signed, done with the seller, the buyer, getting the cash, and actually getting the check. So those are the last 2 episodes we're going to talk about. Thank you guys so much for watching, for listening, and for participating. Greatly appreciate it. We will see you next week. Take care, and God bless.